What is up, guys, and welcome back to another episode of the F1 24 Driver Career Mode. Today we have episode number 5 for the Spanish Grand Prix in season number 1. If you did miss the previous episode at Imola, then be sure to go and check that one out. There's going to be a link to that video in the top right hand corner of your screen now, because that was a very interesting episode with lots of drama, and I'm going to spoil it for you now. So Imola in qualifying, we did very well. In Q1, we were in P2. In Q2, we were in P1. However, I couldn't manage to get the lap together in Q3, so therefore we ended up only qualifying in P10, which was a bit of a shame. You can see there's the race history so far. Max Verstappen on a roll, although Lando Norris managing to take his first career victory in the previous episode. As for me, I ended up P6 after being helped by the red flag. However, I have another bit of news for you in this episode, and we are going to start off with another secret meeting. Our first secret meeting didn't go at all well. We got invited to a meeting by Haas, and this time, as you can quite clearly see, this is a different team who we've never spoken to, and this is Aston Martin. Now, I wasn't entirely sure how to feel about this one, because at the moment we are currently doing slightly better than them. Yes, it's a better car. Yes, I'd be racing against better drivers, especially the likes of Fernando Alonso. However, I decided to decline the talks because I'm quite happy at the team where I am now. I'm only really interested in moving to a team if I get offers from the likes of Red Bull, Ferrari, McLaren and Mercedes, to be honest. Happy being in the midfield car that we have currently.
Hey, me again. Been chatting with some of the team higher-ups, and they're delighted with the loyalty you're showing to the team and the project. Now's a good time to ask for a bonus, or a boat, or whatever it is you people get up to out of the car.
It's a good sign that the team are acknowledging the loyalty that I'm continuously showing to them by now having declined 2 secret meetings already this season, although I can't understand why my agent would want to tell them about me doing secret meetings with the teams, because that just looks really sus. Anyway, we've now moved over to the R&D tree. I am going to go ahead and purchase a major engine power upgrade, which is really going to help us out quite a lot, I think, especially because, you know, we've got some high engine power tracks coming up, you know, Austria, Silverstone, Spa. That would be a really handy upgrade for races like that. With that said, we've now arrived at the race weekend for the Spanish Grand Prix. I'm just going to adjust the difficulty settings, and there's not much else to say. So let's just get into qualifying.
Hello everyone, it is a track the drivers know oh so well. It is qualifying in Barcelona for the Spanish Grand Prix.
Here we are now then on my first timed lap during Q1, and I've immediately made a rookie error. Look at the bottom right of the MFD. You can see we've got an orange engine icon, and that means that we have some worn engine components, which is really not going to help. Now, because obviously I've never played this game before, I hadn't really thought about obviously needing to check engine components. In hindsight, that was a very silly thing to do, because now that means we're going to be doing the whole weekend with a worn engine, which obviously isn't going to help us in qualifying, and it's certainly not going to help us in the race. But with that said, this first lap's been pretty good overall. Coming through the final corner now, thankfully they got rid of that horrible chicane. DRS open, across the line to go into P8. Now that's a pretty nice lap, so I am actually going to go out again, just as a precaution at the end of the session. Although the checkered flag has now come out, I will be the last car to cross the line, and we have in fact stayed in P8. So in hindsight, I probably could have just gone into the pit lane then, but it doesn't matter. I wanted to finish the lap anyway. Across the line we go to finish Q1 in P7. The streak's over of finishing second to Max Verstappen in all 4 of the previous outings in Q1. What a shame, but it doesn't matter. This time it's Lewis Hamilton top of the tree, followed by Perez and Leclerc and Verstappen and Piastri, all 5 within a tenth of a second. Although unfortunately my teammate Yuki Tsunoda has been eliminated in Q1 there, so now we're going out into Q2. Now, I already did 1 time lap. I was down in P13, which is not ideal, so I'm going to try and find every last little tenth, take a little bit of extra fuel out of the car. We've got 2 minutes of the session remaining, so I hope I haven't left this too late. I just wanted to make sure that I had enough track space and enough clean air. Thankfully, we didn't leave it too late. The checkered flag has now come out at the end of Q2. And this is do or die, but I'm not really finding the time that I wanted to be. I'm only just a tenth of a second up. In fact, I was slightly slower in Sector 1 than my previous lap. This is a new set of tyres, which I have for Q2. The original lap time I set in this session was on a scrub set. You can see we are 0.3 of a second slower than Fernando Alonso through Sector 2. And here he is just on a cooldown lap, although look at the time I'm finding now. Big slide at the back end. Through the final 2 corners now. I'm trying to keep the right foot planted to the floor with 3.5 tenths up. Is this going to be enough to get into Q2? DRS open. Across the line. What's the position going to be? It's P9. Yes, it's enough to get us into Q3 for the 4th race in a row now, I think. Oh, wow. Okay. And at the expense of Lando Norris. Look at that. The McLaren driver who won the previous round at Imola has been eliminated thanks to me. I've just dumped the Briton out of Q2, and with Max Verstappen top of the tree, that is a huge moment. Now into Q3 we go. I did set my first lap time. Unfortunately, I was the slowest out of all the drivers, but what I alluded to in Q2 about not having enough time has unfortunately come back to bite me now, because as we are about to start what I thought would be my final lap in Q3, look at the clock. I've left it way too late. It's another silly rookie error, and that's the end of qualifying. There you go. So once again, we are going to be starting P10 for the 3rd time in 5 races this season. At Imola, it's because my lap wasn't good enough. At Saudi Arabia, it's because I collided with Max Verstappen, who basically brake checked me on his in-lap. And there you go. So, you know, not such a bad qualifying when you consider we're 6 places higher than my teammate. However, the race is going to be in full wet conditions once again. Now that throws a spanner into the works, and I did prepare for that by running the maximum downforce setup all weekend. So hopefully it can go well, just like Imola. We're going to increase the AI by 1 click, and with that said, let's go to the grid.
Circuit of Barcelona Catalunya has been on the calendar for over 30 years now, and it has served up some classics. Michael Schumacher's first win for Ferrari in 1996 in the rain. We have much better weather here today for the Spanish Grand Prix. The Circuit of Barcelona Catalunya today comes equipped with wet weather. It's a long run down from pole position to turn 1 here. It's the first of 16 corners that run to 2.9 miles. We have a mixture of high and low speed corners with 2 DRS zones and that fiddly chicane to close the lap. It's time to see how our drivers are stacking up after yesterday's exciting qualifying session. World champion Max Verstappen starts from pole position, and Oscar Piastri completes the front row. Looking at the rest of today's grid, we have Leclerc, Perez, Sainz, Russell, Gasly, Hamilton, Stroll, Walker, Norris, Fernando Alonso, Ocon, Albon, Magnussen, Tsunoda, Zhou, Sargent, Bottas, and Nico Hülkenberg rounds off the grid. Now, it's almost time for lights out, so let's go down to the track. Well, you're very welcome to the commentary box. I'm Alex Jakes. Alongside me, an authority on all things motor racing. It's a warm welcome to Naomi Schiff. I love this moment in the weekend. Put us in their shoes right now. What are they feeling on the grid?
It's a very special time for the drivers. It's almost like everything around you slows down and you become hyper aware. So your nerves slightly go up, your adrenaline's going up. It's the perfect time to start focusing on your visualizations and preparing for the race. So you want to avoid distractions and really stay cool, calm, and focused.
Okay, Mark here. Let's get another points finish today. I just want to say good luck. We're all counting on you.
Definitely not the weather that Spain is usually associated with. More of the, colder races. Like Great Britain, perhaps, as I know full well. Welcome to the grid for the Spanish Grand Prix. You can see the game is suggesting a no-stop strategy today. What I would have done in Imola, and that's exactly what I'm just going to stick with, because, it's raining. Tyre pressures, don't think there's anything I need to alter in the setup. Obviously 50-50 wings, we're going full downforce. In terms of fuel, I'm going to fuel the car to be exactly bang on 23 laps, because I underfueled at Imola, and it didn't matter so much in the end because we managed to recover the fuel, which I do think was assisted by the red flag. However, today I'm not prepared to take the same risks, particularly because we might potentially be at a slight disadvantage due to the fact that I forgot to change the engine components. Silly me, so I'll make sure we do that before the Austrian Grand Prix, and that was a appalling parking there. I really didn't mean to do that. Obviously, I'd anticipated the game would let me go a little bit further on after I've stopped, rather than just, parking me in such a bad place. But now, we're revving up to 5 red lights for a rainy Spanish Grand Prix. It's lights out, and away we go. Do you know what? That's actually not a bad start off the line. In fact, that's a good start off the line. We're already going past Lance Stroll. We're trying to put pressure on the 7-time champion Lewis Hamilton as well, down towards the first corner. Is he weaving all over the place? There's quite a bit of spray, a quadruple lock up there. Lucky to not go sliding into anybody. I've got cars on either side. That's Lando Norris on my right, Stroll on the left. I'm going to let them both go. As it turns out, I have lost the position, although Stroll loses the back end. No, he's given me wing damage. Oh, Stroll, what are you doing? Surely you could have managed to control the car there rather than just slide into me, and I've just been collected in that incident, and then my teammate has just come in like a torpedo and battered me out of the way, and now Guan Yu Zhou as well, and that's the full end plate gone, and we're just going sliding back to the field, and it's virtually impossible to control the car now because I'd never done any wet driving on this circuit before, and what do you know, we're now plumb last. Oh, brilliant. I suggest that, we box at the end of this lap and then somehow try and repair it. But first, I think we need to look at a few replays. So this was my onboard. Norris and Stroll goes by. I'm just minding my own business. Stroll then just loses the back end and slides into me. I wasn't really aware that that's what was going to happen until it was too late. Let's watch it. So this is Stroll's chase camera. So let's see if there's anything noticeable here. So you can see Stroll, I think he's just too aggressive with the right foot, and then you saw my end plate go, and this is on board with the Canadian driver. This is so frustrating because in the wet, when no one's making a pit stop, it's going to be so hard to be able to make up the position, and there you could just see me, getting hit in the mirrors of the Aston Martin. But now we're going to have to come into the pit lane. We don't have a choice and change onto a new set of intermediate tyres and get a new front wing. Oh, what a shame this is, because we're now just going to be all the way to the back of the field, and the only way we're going to catch up to people is either because of a safety car or if my pace is absolutely unbelievable. And I think the most likely, realistically, is going to be the former of those two options. Such a painfully slow pit stop as well. I just look at the mini-map, see all the other coloured dots getting further and further away while I'm still stuck in the pit box. But yeah, unfortunately, it's going to need a bit of a miracle to save our Grand Prix now, which is such a shame because, we really had some potential to get into Q3. Oh, what's that? Yellow flag. Hold on, don't count your chickens before you've hatched, Spitfire, because there might be an opportunity about to come here. That's an Aston Martin. It looks like, it's Fernando Alonso in his home race. Safety car, please. Oh, virtual. My heart absolutely lit up for a second because obviously, if we get a safety car now, our Grand Prix could well have been saved, sort of. But a virtual safety car, unfortunately, isn't going to do much for us other than allow me to nicely bring the tyres in. Let's see if we can get a replay from the Spanish driver to listen to what the cause of this was. It looks like, that's a definitive engine failure. You can clearly see the clouds of smoke there pouring out of the back of that car. Even, from the rain-soaked spray from everybody else, that's clearly an engine failure. What a shame that is for the Spanish driver. That's his second retirement in just 5 races already this season, and it's his home Grand Prix as well. But as the green flags go in, I've now got 34 seconds to catch Nico Hülkenberg in front. So we'll come back to me when I find a little bit more human contact. I suggest now moving on to lap number 4, and this is Lando Norris. Don't forget he started behind me. He started down in P11 because I knocked him out in Q2, and he's already got Lewis Hamilton in the crosshairs. He's trying to go for a move up the inside of his fellow compatriot, and there we go, down the inside at turn 1. It's a very nice move from the McLaren driver, and he gets himself up into P7. George Russell, another British driver who he raced hard against in Formula 2, is not too far ahead. Now we're cutting all the way to lap number 8. There wasn't many overtakes in this race, to be honest. It was kind of a bit of a stalemate, although here's one, thankfully coming from my teammate. Glad to see that, the team is getting some overtakes on the board, even if they're not necessary for points. I think that is for P13 or 12, something like that. But Yuki Tsunoda goes round the outside of the Williams of Alexander Albon. And now coming back to me, the gap to Hülkenberg is now only 13 seconds. Sorry, Hülkenberg, Valtteri Bottas and Guan Yu Zhou. Hülkenberg is now in front of the Kick Saubers. In terms of fuel, though, we are still pretty marginal. We're just kind of flicking through the laps, but look how quickly the gap's coming down. In the top left-hand corner of your screen, I had a radio message from Mark saying that I'm catching the car in front by around 5 seconds a lap. Is my pace really that good? I don't know, but this is another overtake. This time we're on board with Oscar Piastri. You can see the McLaren driver once again going for a move down at turn 1. This time, though, it's on Charles Leclerc, and it's to upgrade his podium place from P3 up to P2. Trying to keep control of the car there. Nicely done by the Australian driver. And the Monegasque man is demoted down into third with his teammate and, of course, Spanish teammate at his home race, Carlos Sainz, in P4. How I'm sure he would dearly love to finish on the rostrum here. Now, by the time we get to lap 13, and I've pretty much caught Guan Yu Zhou. You can see the gap now is just coming under a second. Although I am slightly lower on fuel, I do still think there'll be an opportunity for me to catch him and overtake as quickly as possible, because he is very slow. Purple sector 3 from me there as well, so maybe my pace is actually quite good. Oh, hello, sorry about that. I didn't even mean to go for that overtake, but you know, I'll take it. I guess he was just incredibly slow. I don't know if the Chinese man has got some sort of issue with his car, which is inhibiting his pace, but even, you know, Valtteri Bottas has dropped in by a considerable margin as well now, and in front of Bottas there's 23 seconds in front of Hülkenberg. So, you know, in sort of 12, 13 laps, I have caught Hülkenberg by around over 10 seconds, in fact. So my pace, I guess, has been good to an extent, although we're just flicking through the laps now and watching how quickly Guan Yu Zhou just drops behind me. You can see it's almost by sort of 3 or 4 seconds a lap I'm dropping him, and I am quite quickly catching the Flying Finn and the other Kick Sauber in front of me as well. Now, though, onto lap number 20, I am still a little bit negative on the fuel, so I do need to try and get that under control. But apart from the fuel, there are a few other things to take into account at this late stage of the Grand Prix. Look at how dry the track is suddenly becoming. I'm losing the back end. I'm asking Mark for a weather update, and you can quite clearly see how much drier, how much of the standing water that there was earlier on in the Grand Prix has now been cleared. And in fact, I would also dare say that the sun is starting to peek out between the clouds here in Barcelona. So now, as we are ending the penultimate lap of the Grand Prix, look at the mini-map. I'm about to be lapped by Max Verstappen. However, I've also set a purple sector 2. All of that with having a worn engine and being on tyres which are over 60% worn. We've also got a tyre wear icon now as we're starting the last lap. And personally, if there had been more laps left of this race, I would definitely have pitted for slick tyres at this stage. There just seemed no point. However, for Max Verstappen, once again, this has been an extremely dominant performance, and he's going to make it 4 wins in the opening 5 races, because the Dutchman has just won the Spanish Grand Prix by a very, very long way. And once again, he's going to extend his advantage out at the front of the championship. And Lando Norris is not even on the podium today, so Max Verstappen sitting pretty at the top of the tree. It's going to take a huge performance from McLaren, a huge upgrade to be able to get anywhere close to him at the end of this season. Meanwhile, for me, a very, very sorry Grand Prix. Obviously, our race was ruined by the fact that, you know, we got involved in an incident on the first lap, which wasn't my fault. It was Stroll. We've now got low fuel mode across the line. And yeah, it's only P18 at the Spanish Grand Prix. Thankfully, we've had some better performances, so we know the potential is there to get much better races. There wasn't much I could have done about that one today, though, unfortunately. So let's just move on to the next.
It's always box office when this man's at the front. Max Verstappen takes the checkered flag.
And it's one thing to win, but to win like that in total dominance style, that was a fantastic drive, and it is not one that we see very often.
Here come today's winners. The team at Red Bull have done a phenomenal job recently. It's clear to see that they've put in the work, and they should be proud of the victory they've secured here. Well, that certainly was an exciting weekend of Formula One. Be sure to join us for more exciting Formula One action very soon.
There's the final results from the Spanish Grand Prix. Verstappen dominates, Piastri P2 and Leclerc completes the podium. Unfortunately, no home podium for the second Ferrari, Carlos Sainz, who ends up in P4. Then comes Perez, Norris only recovers to P6, Russell and Hamilton, Stroll and Gasly completing the points. Unfortunately, my teammate Yuki Tsunoda around 6 seconds or so off getting a top 10 finish today, so no points for the team collectively. So definitely a weekend to forget. In terms of the lap times though, I also noticed that I had one of the best lap times out of anybody today and was one of only a small handful of drivers to be having a personal best lap in the 1:25. So, you know, what could have been for us today, I would say definitely if we hadn't been taken out on the first lap. So thank you to Stroll for that. In the championship though, Max Verstappen once again, normal service is resumed. He's got a big lead over everyone else, and in the constructors nothing has changed. We're still in P5, although the gap to Mercedes has increased in this Grand Prix today. Now, the rivalry, it thinks my rival is Logan Sargent when don't think he's even been mentioned once in this career mode so far because I've been so far ahead of him. But anyway, if that's what the game thinks, then that's what the game thinks. But that's it for today's video. I hope you did enjoy it. If you did, please remember to like, share and subscribe. Don't forget you can follow me on Instagram and join my Discord server. Both links will be in the description down below. And I'll see you guys all next time for the Austrian Grand Prix. Goodbye.